The problem with YouTuber watches is that it would be easy to fall into the mistake of assuming that the watch is overhyped purely because that person has a large following and a large fan base. So of course, everyone's going to love that watch by default. And perhaps the people who had the initial reviews and did the initial filming are friends with that YouTuber. So of course they're going to say nice things, right? And maybe in the future that will apply. But let me tell you now, hand on heart, the EREBUS Ascent, which I've got on my wrist right now, is absolutely a phenomenal watch, and it deserves all of the praise and all of the hype that it's been given. Let me tell you about it. So I wasn't planning on making this video. In actual fact, I was filming a review for the Pullover Oceanographer GMT. But when this watch turned up, and in the few days that I've had with it, I couldn't not tell you about it. I'm gonna say this is the best value watch I've ever handled. I was a little bit suspect that the EREBUS watches were getting a bit overhyped purely from fans of Just One More Watch. And by the way, I am a long-term subscriber and a big fan of the channel, but I've handled enough watches to believe that I know something good or bad when I see it. And I have no personal relationship with Jodys or Steve, who are the owners of EREBUS. They seem like really good guys, but I don't know them personally, so maybe one day in the future I'll be able to change that. But for now, I don't have a horse in the race. So when we're talking about this watch, what is it that makes it so special, and why am I praising it with so much enthusiasm? Let's talk about dimensions. Now, I can give you the specs. It doesn't really tell the story. It's a 39mm diameter watch, 44.5mm lug to lug, and it's 11mm thick. So it's nice and slim, it's nice and slender, but the proportions don't tell you how well it molds onto your wrist. On my 17.5cm wrist, it doesn't feel like the watch is on my wrist. It feels like the watch is a part of my wrist. And the only other times I can think that I felt that sort of level of comfort, well, to be honest, the Rolex Air King, which although I didn't really bond with, as you may know from my video, it was a really comfortable watch. And the refinement that Rolex had on that case meant that it just felt fantastic on the wrist, the case and the bracelet. And somehow, at a price of less than $500 US, Jodys and Steve with the EREBUS Ascent have managed to create a watch that gives me that same insanely comfortable feeling that you tend to only get from really rather premium watches. It's so incredibly rare to find that at this price point. The next thing about the watch is the reason I bought it actually, which is of course the dial, and it doesn't disappoint. I love interesting dials, I love interesting textures, color gradients, and this green fume with the helix pattern as they have named it just looks absolutely fantastic. It's interesting enough to look unique. And talking of design, it's always nice to see brands go to the extra effort to make something really cohesive. So for example, this helix pattern that is on the dial is made up of EREBUS logos, which is not really that visible unless you're under loop or under macro, but it's such a nice little Easter egg in there, and it just shows the thought level that's gone into this watch. And when I talk about a watch being value, the fit and finish on this is outrageously good for the money. If this watch had a Swiss brand on the dial, I think it would be more than twice the price. And you'd still think that's a pretty good watch. So I cannot speak highly enough about that, but value for me is not just fit and finish. Otherwise, I'd have a watch box full of San Martins, and I don't. There's something else that has to come from it. A part of value for me, which I can't get from the EREBUS, is brand history. Like for example, when I bought the Glycine Airman. The Glycine Airman has a phenomenal history. It's something I really buy into, and it feels special when I wear that watch. Now the EREBUS is never going to offer that kind of value, but the way it's been designed with everything so carefully thought out, the way the case is machined to sort of mold onto the wrist, the finesse on the dimensions, and the attention to detail, like with the EREBUS logo in the helix pattern. These are all things that I really appreciate, but they seldom come in a package that offers the same build quality and value for money as a San Martin. I feel in this regard, like, I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm getting everything that I love about the very best of micro brands, along with the top tier and fantastic value for money that you can get from the very best of the AliExpress brands, the ones that you're willing to pay $300, $400, $500 for. Let me give you an example of something that I think is just outrageously good on this watch, but you'd never think about it normally, and that's the screw pins on the bracelet. Now, I don't like screw pins when they're not done right. A lot of the time, especially sub $500, the screw pins, you get high torque, you get low torque, you get rough threads, things catch, the screw heads are soft, and if you get one that's stuck, it starts damaging the head of the screw rather than actually coming out. And this is an issue I see over and over again. The best screw pins I've ever felt in my life were on the Rolex Air King. When I sized that bracelet, the tolerances were absolutely perfect, as they should be for that price. My goodness me, this EREBUS feels pretty close to that. The tolerances on the screw pins, on the links, on this O style bracelet are absolutely buttery smooth, and it's such a level of engineering that I don't expect it at this price. Now look, I am not saying that this is anything like a Rolex. There is of course areas where the watch feels a little bit more like it's priced. I mean, for a start, it's a Miyota 9 series movement, which is a fantastic movement, but you get a lot of rotor wobble with that, and of course you can feel it through the case, and I don't mind it. I don't have an issue with it at all. But of course, it's not something that you'd get really in a premium or a more expensive watch. Secondly, of course, the bracelet design is nothing unique. The links are a choice of an O or J style bracelet. I won't say the trademarks, but they're off the shelf. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no interesting design that's gone into that. There's no effort. It's very nicely made, but it's a copy and paste from a parts catalog. And maybe, just maybe, the clasp is a little tiny bit too chunky. But that said, on the clasp, I'm willing to make the trade-off with this watch for the excellent quick adjust system, which is again on par with some of the best. That said, there is something better than quick adjust, which I still don't understand why more brands don't look at, which is on Zodiac watches, where they have the small springs at the bottom of the clasp. It means the watch bracelet naturally expands and contracts with your wrist. I still think that's a better solution than micro adjust, but so far I've only seen Zodiac do that. So yeah, micro brands, if you're watching, maybe take a look at that system. This is not a full review. To be honest, I don't think YouTube needs another review of this watch. There's plenty out there already, and I don't think there's a lot more that I can add. That's why I wanted to give you my impressions on this. I've only had the watch for a few days now, so if my impressions do change, I will upload a video and I'll tell you exactly what's changed, what my new opinion is, and I'll link it in the description for this video, so you'll know if there's a follow-up video, then yes, maybe something is different. But to be honest with you, it's very rare that I feel this strongly about a watch when I unbox it, and that gives me a lot of confidence that this one is going to be in my collection, I think, for a very, very long time. So let me summarize my impressions just very briefly, and that is, this watch is outrageously good value for money. It has phenomenal finishing across the dial, the handset, the indices, the bracelet, the clasp. Everything is, for the price, absolutely perfect. The sapphire crystal has pretty good AR on it. From certain angles, it does sort of appear invisible. I don't think it's jewel coated, but it is a very good single coating. So perfect as a daily wear. You can dress up and dress down. This one will slide under a cuff. It does have the screw down crown, does have the 100 meters water resistance, rock solid movement, and yeah, I think on this O style bracelet, it definitely dresses up or dresses down very nicely. And on top of all of these things, it's insanely comfortable. Like I said, I don't even feel like I'm wearing a watch right now. It is that damn comfortable. So yeah, if you are interested, I'll leave a link below to the EREBUS website, and if you want to pick one up, I have no hesitation in saying I don't think you'll be disappointed. Please don't hesitate to leave your comments below. Let me know exactly what you think about this watch. Let me know if you're buying one, if you have bought one, or if you absolutely will not buy one, and why that's the case. I really enjoy reading your comments. I try to reply to as many as I can. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and of course the bell notification icon, the only way you'll actually see when I upload. I'll see you again next time, probably for the Billover Oceanographer GMT review finally. And yeah, thank you very much and catch you then. Cheers.